Beginning tonight and for the rest of this week, we're presenting a very emotional and moving special report on this newscast. It's about many things: bravery under fire, honor long delayed, the mysteries of friendship, reconciliation as improbable as it is profound. At the center of the story are three men who once were mortal enemies. One fought for Hitler, one is Jewish, and with his buddy fought for democracy. Last month, the three returned to the battlefield in Belgium where they once tried to kill each other to meet again.
The problem is that we do not get younger.
He approached in the half-light of the Ardennes forest.
But we must carry on for some years to come.
The hand that held a weapon now clutched a cane.
Being the last live witnesses of the Battle of the Bulge.
Hanz Geng, former Hitler youth, proud soldier of the Third Reich, surrounded by the ghosts of World War II's bloodiest battle. Each footstep drawing him closer to his old enemies. Former GI Lester Bornstein, an American Jew from New Jersey.
Oh my God, this is something.
And his foxhole buddy James Hill, now from Long Island. They had exchanged fire on this battlefield in 1944, anonymous enemies, now searching at long last for reconciliation. It was set in motion 3 years ago, when Hill got a call from a complete stranger in Germany. Then a letter that began,
"Dear Germans, since we tried to kill each other 55 years ago, we are entitled on first name."
The unique part of it was the opportunity to talk to somebody that was on the spot and understood on the same road, the same action, the same event from the other side.
The Battle of the Bulge was Hitler's last desperate attempt to turn the tide in Europe. A massive counterattack in Belgium designed to encircle and destroy the American and British forces advancing toward Germany. On the afternoon of December 17, 1944, Bornstein and Hill were in a foxhole here in the village of St. Vith when Hitler launched his offensive. Now, bear in mind, they were just 19 years old at the time. Suddenly, a column of German tanks rumbled up that road, charging straight at them. Hanz Geng was in the third tank.
We had ordered to take St. Vith by surprise attack in one day at any cost.
Oh, I was terribly scared. A little bit scared. I was one scared cookie.
When he said to me that there were enemy tanks coming up and enemy soldiers, I didn't want to believe him.
With the tank column bearing down on them, Bornstein tried to load the first anti-tank rocket into Hill's bazooka.
I screwed up.
How so?
I broke it. I was so nervous.
As the tanks closed in, Bornstein tried to load the second shell. He broke the arming wire on that one, too.
The third time down, the tank is coming at us. We wired it correctly. We got up, and now the tank is maybe 30 yards away. It's pretty hard to miss it.
And I remember putting my shoulder to him, and I said, "Jimmy, please don't miss." Exactly what I said. I could see, so I thought of my mother and my family died. Please don't miss it. I could hear the tank coming.
The third time was a charm.
Hill's shot knocked out the lead tank. The German infantry tried to find out where the shot came from.
You could hear on the cannon road with the hobnail boots come closer and closer.
Hill and Bornstein got ready to throw hand grenades and die fighting. At the last moment, Bornstein's Jewish upbringing saved their lives.
I heard in a very, very sharp command, "Komm zurück, komm zurück." And they slowly went down the road, and I told my buddy here, who was a WASP from Massachusetts, "Jimmy, I think we're saved." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "They said come back."
With the road blocked by the wreckage of the lead tank, uncertain about the enemy he faced, the German commander decided to abandon his attack. Hill and Bornstein had, with a single shot, stopped the German offensive at St. Vith.
It was you with your Dan bazooka. You had the impertinence to stop two of the best German combat divisions.
Geng and his tank corps were battle-hardened veterans. Geng had joined the German army at 17 and a half and had fought for 2 years on the Russian front.
I would have crushed you with the chains of our tank if you had given the chance.
Hill and Bornstein's bravery bought the Allies 5 precious days. But when the Germans attacked again, Hill was taken prisoner and spent the rest of the war in a German POW camp. Geng was also captured and shipped to an American POW camp. After the war, Lester Bornstein became a hospital administrator, James Hill an auto executive, and Hanz Geng a beekeeper. After he retired, Geng began to think more about the Battle of the Bulge and the men who fought it, on both sides. And in the letters he sent from his home in the little Bavarian village of Engelthal, there was this poignant sentiment from an old soldier extending a hand of friendship.
All my former comrades of the Assault Artillery Brigade 244 I still had contact with are dead now. You are now the only comrade of the Battle of the Bulge left.
Could you and Hans become friends?
Could we become friends?
Yes.
I couldn't become friends, but I could understand from where he came from and shake and say, okay, this is the past.
Well, you may have noticed that Lester started to say he could shake hands with Hans, but then caught himself. Before we left for Belgium, Lester had such conflicted feelings about meeting an enemy who fought for everything he despised, Lester wasn't even sure he could shake the man's hand. Well, you are going to be very surprised tomorrow night when you see what actually happened when they met. And I'll tell you another astonishing story about honor long delayed and the twist of fate that led Hanz Geng to James and Lester. Tomorrow night at 11. Yesterday, we began the powerfully moving story of three once bitter enemies meeting again on a battlefield where they tried to kill each other more than half a century ago. One of them a German, a former Hitler youth and proud soldier of the Third Reich, extending a hand of friendship to two former GIs, one of them Jewish. It was an unlikely reunion set in motion by an even more astonishing event. In the fall of 1998, James Hill and Lester Bornstein, then 74 years old, were awarded one of the Army's highest medals, the Bronze Star for Valor. It was a decoration long overdue. On December 17, 1944, in the opening hours of the bloodiest battle of World War II, Hill and Bornstein, then 19-year-old soldiers, faced down an entire column of attacking German tanks and stopped them in their tracks with a single well-aimed bazooka shot. It was the Battle of the Bulge, Hitler's last desperate attempt to turn the tide of war in Europe. And in the awful days that followed, the heroics of Hill and Bornstein were lost in the fog of war. Lost until Lester and his wife returned to the battlefield in Belgium in 1997 and found this man who witnessed the battle when he was 10.
We saw this tank, and here on this side from the tank, in a hole, there was a bazooka, and in the direction of the tank.
He saw the whole thing.
With a sworn affidavit from a witness, their old commanding officer recommended medals for bravery. And 54 years after they fired a shot that bought the Allies 5 precious days in the Battle of the Bulge, James Hill and Lester Bornstein got their Bronze Stars.
I thought we should accept it on behalf of the whole organization, because I kind of took the position that every one of the 168, had they been in that hole and had they had the same opportunity, they could have knocked the tank out.
News of their medals reached the village of St. Vith, Belgium, the scene of the battle. And that got the attention of Hanz Geng, who was in the 3rd tank in the German column Hill and Bornstein stopped. Geng tracked Hill down and contacted him.
Why did you decide to reach out to James and contact him?
Well, I decided to contact him and maybe meet him out of all the memories of the war and out of a certain emotion. Here is an enemy, I finally can know the name of him.
It was unreal to get a call just out of the blue.
For the last 3 years, Geng has been filling Hill's mailbox with letters of reconciliation.
Dear Germs, how good we did not succeed to kill each other. I am happy for that, and for this reason it was so exciting I found out about you and your stopping us. With best regards, your devoted enemy, Hanz Geng.
At first, Lester Bornstein was offended by the letters.
To think that he would write to us and think that we're now friends, that I took it really initially as almost like an affront.
But Bornstein eventually agreed to meet with Geng, still certain that friendship was out of the question.
I couldn't become friends, but I could understand from where he came from.
On a cold January day, they traveled to Belgium.
Does he know my name?
To the battlefield where they tried to kill each other so long ago.
Oh my God.
See how short he is? All German tankers are short.
Oh my God.
They picked them.
I don't know what to feel, Jimmy.
Here's my friend.
As Geng approached, Hill stepped forward to embrace him. Bornstein held back at first. But look what happened next.
I want to introduce you. He's a
There's
motor,
the
too.
This
This is Lester Bornstein.
the second shooter. Yeah, and we said, okay, let's go to St. Louis. We had ordered to take it at any price.
Well, we broke your backbone.
Yeah.
Well,
you was lucky. 2 men like this stop a whole division. I'm still getting mad. We are lucky that we do live.
Right, we're lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
You too. We all are.
Yeah. If you know only the first name of your enemy, you might not kill him.
yeah. But
Well,
now you
we
call.
were-
But now you call him Jim, and you call me Lester.
Yeah.
Before we came over here, you told me that you were, at a minimum, ambivalent about meeting Hans. You didn't know if you could ever be friends. How do you
Yeah,
feel?
I didn't know I was going to hesitate even to shake his hand, you know.
Yeah.
I saw him,
Yeah.
and suddenly it all closed, Chuck. I think that for me it was cathartic, and it was closing a loop in my life. I'm at an age now where it's almost history, and
Yeah.
it's important for me to close it. And I think this trip was very important for me, to meet a former enemy, and now we're shaking hands, and we can say, okay, you had your life and I had my life. We did what was important for our country. Important that we won and we beat you, but I can forgive.
Can you be friends?
I can be friends.
Well, after they met the old enemies, now new friends, walked through their old battlefield, and they made an astonishing discovery. You'll see that tomorrow night as Enemies No More continues. The ravages of war linger for generations, especially for those who were on the front line. And this week we've been telling you the story of 2 American veterans of World War II's bloodiest battle who returned to Belgium to meet a former enemy face to face. For Lester Bornstein of New Jersey, the meeting was far more emotionally charged than he anticipated. And so were the memories that came flooding back.
St. Vith, a sleepy village in the Ardennes forest, had the misfortune in 1944 of being a strategic crossroads for invading armies. That winter, in a surprise attack, Hitler frantically threw the last of his forces against the Allies who were poised along the German border. Over the next 40 days, 20,000 Americans and 60,000 Germans were killed. Defending St. Vith was a group of combat engineers who just days before were building roads and bridges. The young soldiers, including Jim Hill and Les Bornstein, fought so valiantly that the entire unit received a citation. For their heroic efforts, the town of St. Vith also honored the 168th Combat Engineer Battalion with a monument in 1994. The stone tribute marks the ground where 400 fought and 244 died.
You will salute?
Yes.
On this cold January day, Hill and Bornstein returned to the monument to meet former enemy Hanz Geng and share this extraordinary moment. Geng was a gunner in a Panzer tank whose entire column was stopped by a miraculous bazooka shot. Firing that weapon from a foxhole were 19-year-old Sergeant Hill and 19-year-old Private Bornstein.
I thought that was the end of me. I never thought that I'd be sitting here now talking to my former enemy.
Here stands a man who wanted to kill me, and I wanted to kill them.
Not far from the monument is something remarkable I want to show you. Come on over here. 59 years after the Battle of the Bulge here in the Ardennes forest, the foxholes are still here, all along this line.
Here's another one. Here's another one.
Hill and Bornstein were stunned to find the old foxholes where they and their buddies had fought and died.
I'm standing in this woods, and I can hear the bursts of air bursts. I can hear the screaming, and I can hear the people dying and the wounded.
The Battle of the Bulge also haunts Geng. He extended a hand of friendship to his old enemies, first through letters, and then finally here, in Belgium, face to face.
You cannot describe it in words. It was so terrible.
It's quite an emotional thing to think about the guys you lost.
That came back to you today.
Yeah, it sure did.
Why did you join the German army? What made you decide to join?
Because every decent young man was to volunteer to the army. We fought for the fatherland. You fight for the liberation, and we thought we fight for the fatherland.
Why'd you volunteer?
Because the war was a very popular war, and that was the place to be. They looked at you funny if you were still in town, if you were 18 to 25 years old. What's the matter with that guy? Why isn't he in the army? And I wanted to be there.
America was besieged from from our enemy, that I wanted to be in the forefront of fighting for my country.
What did we know? We were submitted to propaganda. If you listen to a radio from outside,